Hey guys, Chris Ross here with A Digit Media, and today what I have for you is something that will ultimately help you stand out from the crowd and differentiate yourself and your offer from every other advisor that is advertising out in the digital marketing land today. And that is how to position yourself or create an offer that is going to stand out and attract the type of leads it is that you want for your particular practice. All right. So one of the wildest things that I've seen here lately is I was scrolling social media today, as you know, most people probably do whenever you're taking a little break. And if you're like me, I get a ton of ads in my news feed, and actually a lot of ads from financial advisors, obviously, because I work with financial advisors. So I'm always clicking on these ads, which means I get served more ads. But I saw something super interesting today that I have not seen before. And this is related to an offer that a particular financial advisor was making. Now, I'm gonna tell you what the offer was, right? The premise of his ad was, I will grow your retirement portfolio or you don't pay. Right now, that is a wild offer to make to someone, mainly because I have never ever seen an ad that had that same kind of premise. No clients that I work with are doing, free work for anyone. So when this came across my feed, right, it immediately stopped me from scrolling. Now, if you're wondering, like, why would someone make such an offer like this? And maybe, where did this particular offer or this kind of premise came from? I can tell you, right, I see these kinds of offers all of the time in my news feed, but it's not from financial advisors. It's generally from marketing agencies, like mine, or lead gen specialists, or, someone who's a coach or someone who's serving essentially like the B2B market. They tend to make these kinds of offers because they want to amp up the risk reversal, right? So they're always saying, hey, I'll get you X amount of leads or you don't pay, or I'll get you this specific kind of result or you don't pay. Now, I don't make those kinds of offers, right? If you're going to work with us, you're going to pay us, irrespective of what kind of result it is that we're going to get. Now, that's not to say that, hey, we're out here just giving out bad results to people and people got to pay us anyway. But I'm not leading with the idea of, hey, I'm going to do this work for you, and if you don't like it, that you don't have to pay me any money, because we work as a partner with our clients. And I would hope, anyone that's working with us is going to value our time and effort that we put into anything the same way that, clients would want to, value your time and effort at anyway, or at any point. But the point here is, you see these kinds of offers in this kind of direct to consumer B2B kind of industry. This is not something that you would typically see a financial advisor make. And again, I get the whole idea is you want to, again, amp up the risk reversal. Now, I clicked on the ad, right? One, because I want to see all the comments. So this particular ad had 65 comments on it. It had been shared 26 times. So it's doing what it's supposed to do, which is it's getting a lot of engagement, right? So 26 people decide to share it. I had a chance to look through some of the comments on the ads, and I was wondering, like, hey, are these all going to be, negative comments? Are they going to be positive comments? Like, what are you going to see? Because, the ad section or the comment section on a lot of these ads can get like really, really crazy. Now, some of what I witnessed in the comments was actually kind of surprising, right? So there were some people in the comments saying, okay, I have X amount of dollars. Like, specifically, there was this one guy who was like, oh, I have about $2 million saved in retirement right now. I have some real estate. I have these other things, etc. Blah, blah, blah. I'm interested in how you can help me. Now, whether or not that person was telling the truth, I don't know. This was the comment that was left on there. So one, that was a good positive comment. If that guy was an actual lead that reached out to him, then that's likely a good candidate for him. Right? There were other comments from people who were like, oh, well, technically you only have to grow the portfolio by $1 and then you fulfill, your promise to whatever it is, right? So these are people who are going to be a bit more cynical. You had some other people in the comments who were talking about, well, anybody can grow a portfolio because the S&P averages about 10% growth every year, right? If you kind of look back historically. So comments were kind of a little bit all over the place. I didn't really see anything that was just super duper negative or anything, right? A lot of times you get into these comments, you see people that talk about scam and like all this other kind of stuff like that. Didn't really see any of that, but the ad is definitely doing this job of getting more engagement. Now, if we know anything about Facebook, the more engagement you get on the ads, the more people Facebook is going to show the ad to, right? Your ad kind of becomes viral in a sense because Facebook is looking to see who's liking, who's commenting, doing all these particular things right here. I clicked on the ad, got to the landing page, and again, the landing page kind of reiterated the entire premise of the ad, right? So the whole goal when you get to the landing page is to, book a Zoom call to have a consultation with somebody on that particular team, and maybe they're going to walk you through whatever the strategy is or whatever the case may be. Now, I don't know how many calls these people are booking. I don't know at what level is converting at, right? I have no insights into their ad account. There's nothing publicly that I can look at that can say whether or not this offer is working as well as maybe they will hope it to have worked for. But just kind of looking at the surface level content, things that I tend to look at in order to determine whether or not an ad is effective, it definitely included all of the markers. Let's talk a little bit about this particular offer and maybe the kinds of leads that it may be attracting. Now, here's what we know. If you're going to lead with an offer that has a lot of risk reversal in it, and I get it, you want to, lower the risk to give people a chance or to give people a greater chance in order to be able to say yes. But what kind of lead are you actually attracting with this? Now, ultimately, I don't know what kind of calls or the quality of the leads that this particular advisor is booking, but I can probably almost guarantee you that a number of these people are going to be people who are price sensitive. Right? That's likely going to be one thing, because if you're saying, hey, I'm going to do all this stuff for you, and then if I don't do what I say it is, then you don't have to pay me, then they're going to be price shoppers, right? Now, could they be price shoppers with a lot of assets? Could be. Or they could just be people who don't have a lot of assets and they're just looking for, right, the cheapest way to get this particular service done. Ultimately, we don't know, but that's it's also a very good chance that you probably would attract more price shoppers with this kind of offer. Because if you really think about it, right, if I'm looking for someone and I have a complex problem that I need to get solved, price really isn't an issue for me, right? I don't need to be, I don't need a particular offer like this with very high risk reversal as a part of it in order to capture my attention, because I'm really looking for someone who is a specialist, right? Someone who has a lot of experience in the type of problem it is that I'm wanting to solve. And if I know I have a complex problem, I'm likely going to need to, pay a little bit in order to get someone to be able to help me out with that. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to overpay for advice or overpay for a particular service. But just when I think about, expertise, value, things of that particular nature, I know that I value my time, and I wouldn't do anything for free for any of our clients right out of the gate. Now, after we kind of work together, we kind of build a relationship, there's always things that we would typically do for a client if they come up with maybe like a last minute request, or if they're like, hey, could you run this other kind of campaign or something for me? There's always little things that you can kind of throw in, for clients or different people that you're working with. And that's because you've built that relationship with them. But this kind of offer, leading with this right out of the gate, you could potentially be attracting people who are not the most highest quality people. Now, on the other side of this, right, if you're kind of looking at this from a strictly numbers game, and let's just say you have a really good sales department, if this kind of ad is, drawing a lot of attention and you're getting, let's just say 5 to 10 consultations booked per day, right? That's going to be great to your sales team, because that's going to keep them busy all day, every day, day after day. And they're in there to try to close business, right? And one thing that I do know is the less education that a lead has before they get on a call, the harder your sales team has to work in order to convert them, right? Because they're not buying a widget. You're trying to get someone to hand over assets, or at least get this person to handle a significant, portion of your retirement in some shape, form, or fashion. And that's not an easy decision that anybody's going to make, on a 30-minute call or an hour-long call. So these are some of the things that you will want to think about if you're, wondering like, hey, should I try this kind of offer? Is this something that may actually work for me? Now, you may be wondering, like, okay, Chris, what's the whole purpose of you bringing up this whole story about this crazy offer? And one of the main reasons I want to bring this up is because I recently was on this training with another internet marketer, right? So I'm always looking to learn, from different people, right? I don't know everything. You have to be a lifelong learner if you're going to, develop some mastery in whatever it is that you're doing. So I was on this training with another internet marketer by the name of Dan Henry. Don't know if you ever heard of him or not. He's been around for a long time. He's a younger guy, much younger than me. But this whole training that he was doing was about, presentations and offers, right? So I'm like going really deep in the offer creation and positioning part, because this is something that I, really want to be able to help advisors with. And one of the things that he brought up in his particular training that I thought was very interesting, and he got this from someone else, so it isn't something that he necessarily made up himself. I think he was able to get this information from, maybe like some kind of old school marketer, but it was this acronym, which is CUB. So CUB, right? So kind of like a bear cub, right? So the acronym CUB is something that he likes to use in order to kind of measure the success or measure the potential of a particular offer or a presentation. So let me tell you what CUB stands for, right? So the C in CUB stands for confusing. The U stands for unbelievable. And then the B stands for boring. So basically what he was talking about is whatever offer it is that you're creating, or if you're creating presentations, so let's say you're doing a webinar or seminar, right? You want to measure that using CUB, meaning is your offer or your presentation confusing, right? Now, one thing that we do know is confused minds do not buy. If you cannot simply state what it is that you do, how you are able to help people, if people are confused about what you do and how you deliver it, they're not going to buy. It's just as simple as that, because they don't really know what to expect. So you really want to start to think about what it is that you're saying to your particular leads, people who are booking consultations, what you're saying on your website, what you're saying in your presentations, whatever the case may be. You want to look at that and say, is this clear or is this confusing to the person who is reading or consuming this particular information? Now, if you're unsure about whether or not it's confusing or if it's clear, obviously you can go out and you can ask people. You can kind of measure this whenever you're doing your consultations with folks. Another thing you can do, you can obviously leverage AI, right? This would be a prime opportunity to use like ChatGPT or Claude. And I would just put in what it is that you do, right? Write out whatever your offer is, whatever it is that you would tell a particular prospect. Put that into Claude or ChatGPT and say, hey, is this particular statement confusing or is it clear? And if it is confusing, give me some pointers on how I could, make this more succinct or more concise and make it more clear. Because the clearer your actual offer and your statements are, that's going to give the person the ability to be able to say yes sooner, because they know exactly what it is that you are actually offering. So that's, the first part to see, right? Second part of CUB is going to be unbelievable. Now, this is not to say that you need to make your offer unbelievable, right? A lot of times, right, having something, a lot of times people use the word unbelievable, like, oh man, I can't believe I actually saw this thing, right? That's a good thing. You don't want your offer to be unbelievable, meaning, hey, I'm going to show you how you can give me, $10,000 and I'm going to turn that into $1 million in 7 days, right? That's an unbelievable offer. In fact, as a financial advisor, you couldn't make that offer anyway. FINRA and the SEC would be knocking on your door immediately because you're making some kind of guarantee. But the point here is you want to make sure that your offer, your presentations, right? You want to make sure that those things are believable to the people who are consuming it. Obviously, there's going to be different levels of, people that your message is going to be in front of. So, for example, right, if you're dealing with ultra high net worth individuals, your ability to help them with their portfolio and their retirement strategies is going to be different than someone who maybe only has $500,000, right? There's a lot more that you can do creatively with someone who has, let's just say, $5 million versus $500,000. But at whatever level it is that you're helping clients, you want to make sure that what it is that you're doing, what it is that you're saying, whatever it is that you're offering, is something that they believe they can actually achieve, right? You can't paint this big pie in the sky kind of picture, because if they don't believe it, they're not going to receive it, right? Just kind of throwing this a little bit of, rhyme in there, for example. So it's much easier to get people to say yes if you can align your offer with the things that they already believe. Now, that's not to say that you got to be a yes man or whatever the case may be. If they got preconceived notions or misconceptions about something, then you definitely want to be able to clear that up. But you don't want to say anything that isn't going to align with like their core beliefs, right? Because that's going to add a barrier there for them to be able to say no. So make your offers believable. Now, the last part in Cub is be boring. Now, financial services, I mean, come on, it's not the most exciting thing out there in the world. So it's going to be a little difficult maybe in order to, make your offer not be completely boring. But I think the point here that you really want to be able to take away from this, and this is especially for your presentation. So for those of you who are doing seminars, doing webinars, even if you're doing VSLs, whatever it is that, whatever it is that you may do, you want to make sure that there's some kind of entertainment element to it. Now, this is not to say that you got to go out and not be, someone that you're not. I really think for the most part, this really kind of comes down to, letting your own personality come through in how you speak to people, how you treat people, how you are able to convey information, right? There's financial history that you can give to someone, and you can give it to them in such a monotone and flat way where they just kind of tune you out, versus if you were to employ some kind of storytelling, right? This is where you can really start to leverage existing clients and create case studies and tell them stories about how you have been able to help people who were in a similar situation, right? That will be one of the ways that you could make sure that your presentations and your offers are not boring. So the last part of Cub B, that's going to be a little bit more difficult just simply because of the nature of the work it is that you do. But you don't want to overwhelm people a lot of times with, numbers and getting down into the weeds and everything, right? You really want to focus more on storytelling, big picture outcome, and let that be, a part of your offer, your presentation, whatever it is that you're working on. So, that was one of the most interesting things that I was able to see, all this week, the combination of seeing this ad from this advisor with this incredible offer with a lot of risk reversal, and then also being able to understand, okay, why they're able to make that offer and what's driving people to, make comments, click on the ad, most likely booking consultations in order for them to, get more leads in the door. So if you were going to take away anything from this particular video, it really would be using that Cub method to really examine everything it is that you're doing to make sure that it's not confusing, to make sure that it's not something that's unbelievable, and to make sure that whatever it is that you're doing, that you're not boring people to death. If you're able to succeed with that, I really feel like you would have a great chance and a great opportunity to generate, more leads, more consultations for your practice. I would love to hear from you, all who are actually watching this, right? Is this something that you've actually heard of before? Do you have a similar offer to the same offer that I just mentioned from this advisor? Is this something that you're actually interested in? I'd love to hear some of your feedback, or maybe some of the crazy offers that you may have seen. And if you have anything, leave it in the comment below. I'd be more than happy to read and respond to it. That's all I have for you today, and I'll see you in the next one.